I'd like to welcome all of you tonight to our Nu Skin meeting and welcoming Bill Hyman here to talk with us. I've been in Nu Skin for a year. I'm an Emerald executive, and it's been an incredible experience in my life to be participating in this kind of a business. It's lots of fun, and it certainly has changed my life for the better. I know you've all been patiently waiting to hear Bill Hyman, and I'd like to welcome him and have him come up now and get started with our meeting.
Thanks, Beverly. Oh, here I go again.
Hello.
Thank you very much. Aloha. It's nice to see lots of shiny faces. How many do we have here for the first time? Raise your hand. Well, good. Let's give them a nice warm welcome. Isn't that nice? You just show up and you get a round of applause. Wait, what happens when you do something? This is great. Let me just introduce myself. My name is Bill Hyman, and I actually have been with Nu Skin about 22 months, almost 22 months, but I've had about 11 years of marketing background, and actually until August of last year I had 4,000 distributors in another marketing company. So you can imagine with that kind of distribution network how many people call me and say, would you sell this, would you market that? And there literally wasn't a week that went by that somebody didn't call and offer me a new golden opportunity. And most of them ended up in the garbage can just about as quick as you could say worthless. Anyways, about 2 years ago, I got a call telling me about this, and they were talking about product trends, and they were talking about marketing trends, and this one made a lot of sense. So I'll tell you what I did. I'm from Missouri. Does everybody know what they say about people from Missouri? Show me, right? I canceled a week's worth of appointments. I flew down to Fort Lauderdale, Florida, which is where the phone call came from, and I came to meetings similar to this one, and we devoted a week to try to poke enough holes in this that we could go on with our lives and not change our routine. And I'll tell you what, after a week, I couldn't find a thing wrong with this. I met some of the most credible business people I've ever met in my life. I met real estate developers who had shut their business down to do this full time. I met a finance man who had done the same thing. I met a surgeon who was just months away from shutting his practice down and doing this full time. So I decided I was going to take it back to the Midwest. I'm from Milwaukee. And we know that you can sell something in Milwaukee, you can sell it anywhere in the country. Sears does their test marketing there, and JCPenney's and McDonald's. So we figured if we could sell it in Milwaukee, we could take it national. And we set aside a 4-month period for test marketing these products and this concept, and the thing outdid our wildest expectations. Well, we've been in the company about, as I said, about 22 months now, and it is just growing like incredible. Those of you who are here for the first time, let me tell you, you're definitely in the right place at the right time. Tonight is just an introduction. We're not going to get into a lot of training. We're going to have a training on Sunday. But we'll give you an idea of what we're looking for and what we have to offer and find out if you're right for us and we're right for you. But the thing I'm really excited about is the products that we've got going for us. We're really working with 3 major product trends. And the first one has to do with the hair fitness industry. About 15 or 20 years ago, an Italian pharmaceutical company started researching a product that for the first time in the history of medical science didn't deal with just the scalp of the hair, actually went below the scalp and recreated the environment as if we were 19 years old again around the follicle. And this process was just unprecedented. In fact, when it finally got introduced into Europe, it won the best new product introduction in all of Europe that year. And every country it went into, it became the #1 selling product in its category. And over the counter, only Tylenol and aspirin outsold it. Could you imagine having the #3 selling product in Europe exclusively here in the United States? And as I began to look at the markets, I found out that the Wall Street Journal had just done an article on this, and they estimated that this new industry is going to be a $5 billion industry. And I began to feel like I was sitting at Kitty Hawk with the Wright brothers, not looking at an industry, but actually at a vacuum. There have been 150 articles written on our product. It's called Nutriol. We've been on NBC News twice. We've been on CBS News once. We're on Good Morning America not that long ago. And I believe we're going to capture 50% of that market with all that positive media attention. But let's just say we capture 20%. That's $1 billion a year in one product. How many people have had really good results or seen really good results with the Nutriol? Would you raise your hands? Okay, I just want 1 or 2 people to come up here. Good. Roberta, why don't you come up and just tell them what kind of results you've gotten or you've seen.
Hi. About 3 weeks after I got in the business last summer, I was walking around Long's, and they had a stand set up, and they were testing people's hair with a product that they were trying to promote. And I had just had a perm about 3-4 weeks before, and my hair was in really bad condition. And they sat me down, they had me fill out a piece of paper telling what I was using on my hair and whether I chemically treated it, and I'd permed it, I'd colored it. And so then they set it up and put it on a computer. And the girl was absolutely amazed because what they expected to see was the hair shaft, and it would have been missing all these little pieces, and they were just waiting to sell me this other product. And she said, "What do you use on your hair?" And I said, "Why?" And she said, "Your hair is in absolutely perfect condition. I can't believe it because you do chemically treat it." And she showed it to me and sent me home with a picture of it. And I mean, I had trouble believing it myself because in 3 weeks my hair was absolutely just the other end of the spectrum, where it had been so badly damaged, it was now in perfect condition.
Wonderful. Thanks. Let's give her a nice hand. You know, as you talk to people, you're going to find some rather miraculous results with Nutriol, and a lot of people think it's a male product because men have a lot more trouble with their hair than women do. But 60% of the customers in Europe are women. Chem damage, perm damage, color damage hair. Any head of hair will get healthier and look fuller and thicker as a result of using Nutriol. It's like sending your hair and scalp to the spa. Now, the same patented process, and for those of you who are a little skeptical like I was, this process won 3 worldwide patents. And that same patented process that works for hair also works for eyelashes and for fingernails. Well, being a man, I didn't understand the market potential for products that do this for eyelash and fingernails, but my wife, Maureen, literally pushed me out of the way to get at the eyelash product. I got to tell you a little story. Maureen's always been concerned about her eyelashes. In fact, she works for an eye surgeon, so she's been asking him, well, what can I do about my eyelashes? And he hasn't had a whole lot of hope for her. Well, she started using the eyelash about 2 weeks after she started using it. I was upstairs at the house, and she was down in the powder room, and she screamed out my name, and I said, oh my God, she's fallen down the stairs. And I ran down the stairs, and she's in the powder room with her nose in the mirror going, look at my eyelashes. In 2 weeks, the difference was remarkable. And again, she's an eye surgeon's nurse. If she says she's getting these kind of results, she's getting these kind of results. And the same thing happens for the nail. There's 2 different products. And you go to California today, there's more nail salons than there are beauty salons. What woman wouldn't give just about anything to have healthier, beautiful eyelashes and stronger, longer nails? How many people have gotten dramatic results with 1 or 2 of these products, the eyelash or the fingernails? Okay, wonderful. Well, if this isn't a billion-dollar product line, I don't know what is. Now, as the name of the company implies, Nu Skin started out as a skincare company. I don't know anything about skincare. I mean, how many men do, right? Most of us use soap and a rope in the summertime. We use chapstick in the winter. It kind of stops right there. But I was very impressed with the hair products. The Nutriol had given me very, very good results. My hair is healthier than it's been in absolutely years. So I decided that I would give the entire skincare line to Maureen and say, here, use this stuff. Tell me if it's any good. And I had to go away on business. I came back a week later, and she said, Bill, you're missing the boat. And I said, what do you mean? She said, this is the finest skincare line I've ever used. Would anybody agree with that statement? Now look around the room for those of you who are new. Well, I had a problem, and as I see there's a lot of men here, maybe you're going to have some of the same problem. And the problem was I willing to get my ego and let it stand in the way of financial success? You see, if you have a chance to take a young growth company national and eventually international, would it matter what the product was? Famous Amos didn't have an emotional attachment to cookies, but he took them national. And Ray Kroc didn't have an emotional attachment to make hamburgers, but he took that international. And if you begin to understand the skincare market, you're going to see huge, huge potential. So I couldn't relate to the products, but I started looking at the markets. And what I found out was that Donahue had just done an expose in the skincare industry, Oprah had just done one, and Good Morning America had just done one. They're all saying the same thing. They're saying the skincare industry is a $23 billion ripoff. Women, ladies, is that true? Essentially what they're doing is they're taking 50 cents worth of product, they're putting it into $1 worth of packaging, and they're selling it to the American consumer for $30 and $40 and $50. And sure enough, if you go home and look at what you're using, if it's not Nu Skin, you're going to see mineral oil and harsh alcohols and beeswax and borax, and people say, well, I don't understand what's so wrong with those. Well, mineral oil is just a byproduct of the refining of petroleum. If you want to save yourself a lot of money, go to the hardware store, get yourself a can of 30 weight, and put it on your skin because it does the same thing. Well, Nu Skin said, what would happen if we took everything that was known to be bad for the skin out of these products and put only beneficial ingredients in? And I've never seen a product in my 11 years of marketing so well received. I mean, people try this once, and they absolutely love it. It's amazing. In fact, they took this skincare line to the International Estheticians Convention. For those of you who don't know what an esthetician is, that's a licensed skincare expert. There were 300 skincare lines from all over the world, and Nu Skin took first place. Well, I was impressed. And then we're spearheading the skincare line with an isometric facelift. It's a facial mask that you put on in an upward and outward motion. And what it does is it isometrically tones the muscles under the skin. And actually re-educates the skin. And I've seen people take 5 and 10 years off their appearance in just 1 or 2 applications. How many people have seen dramatic results of that facelift? Would one or two of you come up and just share some of those results? Don't be shy. Come on up.
I have a girlfriend who, for years, was a sun lover. She was on the beach week after week, and she turned 50, and all of a sudden it looked like she turned 70. It was horrifying because she's a young gal, young in body type. She's real effervescent, and her face just aged dramatically. And as a favor to her, I offered to put this mask on her. And everyone, we did it in a salon, and everyone there watched this process, and she was kind of, well, yeah, I'll submit. And when she was done, she looked visibly different in one treatment. And she went home to her husband, and she immediately called me up and said, I want all of it. And that was based on what her husband had responded with. So it was pretty dramatic.
Let's give her a nice hand. You know, I figure there's got to be tens of millions of baby boomers worried about their hair and worried about their skin. And they've got the money and the inclination to do something about it. And then when you stop and think about it, there's never been a period in history where vanity items haven't sold. Even in the Depression, when people weren't eating, they were buying skincare and cosmetics. And not only is this the finest skincare line in the world, I'll tell you, I'll put it up against any skincare line, but it's 30 to 50% less expensive than what you might pay at a department store. So I stole a quote from W. Clement Stone. He said, take a product that everybody uses, make it better, and make it less expensive, and you've got a guaranteed success. And we're walking into a very vulnerable market. We're walking into a huge industry. The skincare industry 5 years ago did $16 billion. Last year it did $23 billion. And it's estimated to triple in the next 10 years. And for those of you who don't believe that the skincare industry is a huge industry, what I'd like you to do is go into the most expensive department store you can. Walk into Liberty House, for instance. And the way department stores work is they put their most expensive real estate close to the front door. Because what they do is they set their displays up by profit per square foot. And when you walk into that right off the mall, what do you see? Skincare. Aisles and aisles of skincare. It's a big business. And it doesn't matter whether you can relate to skincare or not. You need to be able to relate to that market. Well, here's a better product for less money. What if we capture just 5% of that industry? That's another $1 billion a year. And then we've added to the skincare line a product called Celtrex. And Celtrex is our liquid gold. You probably have all heard about collagen. What you may or may not know is that collagen sits on the surface of your skin. It does not penetrate the skin. And many skincare experts will tell you that it can do more harm than good. Up to now, in order to get collagen below the surface of the skin, you had to inject it. And you've probably heard about people injecting it for more supple skin and better elasticity and getting rid of wrinkles. Well, Celtrex is avian collagen. It's a specialized form of collagen, and its structure is such that it allows it to penetrate the skin without injection. You just put it on, and it permeates the skin, and it promotes healing from the inside out. And I have seen nothing short of dramatic results with this product. Excuse me. We have an associate in Milwaukee who last summer was in a fire, and he had a gas can explode on his foot, literally melted his gym shoe to his foot. He had third-degree burns from his knee to his ankle. The doctor said he was not going to walk for 6 to 9 months. He said he was never going to have soft skin again, and he was going to need 18 inches of skin grafts. We got him on the Celtrex, and in 90 days he was beginning to walk, and the skin was healing. In 6 months, no surgery was necessary. Now, he was scheduled for 18 inches of skin grafts, and the doctor said, you don't need any. That's the kind of work that Celtrex is doing. And you're going to hear a lot about Celtrex and a lot about avian collagen because the AMA is publishing the research on what it's doing in terms of healing. And we've got the exclusive direct-to-consumer rights to it. And people are noticing that fine lines are getting diminished and the smoker's lines and burns and cuts and bruises. Have people noticed that with Celtrex? Is that amazing a product or what? And then we've added the Celtrex to these Celtrex product called Glacial Marine Mud. And Glacial Marine Mud is a clay from the glaciers in Canada with tremendous healing properties. And the people that have been combining the two, using the Celtrex and the Glacial Marine Mud, have been noticing a dramatic decrease in acne. We've seen chronic acne disappear in just a couple of weeks. Now tell me that's not a big market. So we've got three huge product trends pushing us. We've got the hair care, hair fitness industry. We got the skincare industry. We've got one more, and that's the weight loss and nutrition industry. How many here have ever been on a diet before? The rest of you are lying. This country is weight loss and nutrition crazy. I mean, and maybe you haven't been on a diet to lose weight, but you've been on a diet because you're concerned about your salt intake, or your cholesterol intake, or just getting more healthy nutrition or less beef. And $20 billion was spent last year on weight loss and nutrition. And see, what Nu Skin is Nu Skin decided that it's not going to be a Me Too product line, that they're going to be state-of-the-art products only. And they have 10 international researchers traveling the world researching new technology. And what you may or may not know is that most of the protein drinks that you take, either as a meal replacement or as an energy product, are dehydrated through heat. In other words, they take the food, they dehydrate it at 300 degrees Fahrenheit, and that's how it gets into its powdered form. But what you may or may not know is that dehydrating at 300 degrees kills the flavor, kills the nutrition. You ever tried these things? They taste like powdered chalk. And then you drink it because you want to make it a meal replacement. An hour later, you're ready to eat the refrigerator whole. Well, Nu Skin came out with a process called sonic drying. It's a patented process out of England. And sonic drying powders the food through nozzles at the speed of sound instead of heat. So instead of being heated at 300 degrees Fahrenheit, it's heated at 85 degrees Fahrenheit. And when you dehydrate essentially at room temperature, you keep the nutrition, you keep the flavor, and you've got a whole food concentrate. And then they went one step further. Chocolate's my favorite. And they put it into handheld containers. So when you're hungry and you just, the only way to get something to eat is to go to a fast food restaurant, which is essentially just fat and salt. You take the peel, you put it in your car, you put it in your briefcase, you put it in your purse, take it out, fill it with cold water, shake it up, take the attached straw off, put it in, drink it, and throw the empty container away. It is literally a meal on the run. Do you have any idea what this is going to do the way yuppies eat? Think about it. Now, I got excited because a 20% market share of the hair fitness industry gives us $1 billion. Certainly the eyelash and the fingernails are a potential $1 billion. A 5% market share of the skincare industry is $1 billion. And Appeal is outselling everything we've got. This is going to be a multi-billion-dollar company. And in my 11 years of marketing, I've learned a couple things. And one of the things I learned is if you want to be very successful on a long-term basis, you don't try to go into a small market and try to capture a large percentage. What you want to do is go into huge markets and try to capture small percentages. And with just 5 and 10 and 15% market shares, Nu Skin is going to be a multi-billion-dollar company. But that's just half the story. Because what's happening to people's lives as a result of this company can't be described in just a half hour, an hour. You see, I came to a meeting just like you. And I had my own skepticisms, and just like you. But you know what I found out? I got started, just the way you may get started. And now I get a chance to travel all across the country, and what really impresses me about this company is the people that get involved. People that are already making $50,000 and $100,000 and $200,000 a year are getting involved in Nu Skin International. And when I sit down and I say, why? It's almost always because of the time freedom. How many here have ever said there's got to be a better way? Did you ever say that to yourself? Sunday night? Doesn't it seem crazy to work 5 days a week, to take 2 off, to work 5 days a week again? 50 weeks a year to take 2 off? For what? You know, the insurance statistics say that at age 65, 95% of this country is either dead or dead broke. It's true. And I think the reason that is because most of us buy either 1 or 2 lies. Lie number 1 is security today is a good job, a good job with a good company. Do you believe that? So what we do is, for some reason, we buy that lie. Nobody believes it, but we bought it. And we go on the 40-40-40 plan. We work 40 hours a week for 40 years for a $40 watch. Let me tell you what you're doing working for somebody else. You're letting their dreams come true. So the rest of us say, okay, we're going to go out and start our own business. How many believe the only way you can ever accumulate wealth is working for yourself? All right, that's true. Well, let me tell you about the dark side of that. Those of us that are brave enough to go out and start our own businesses, we take everything we've saved, we put it into that business, we borrow enough to put ourselves in debt for the next 20 or 30 years, and according to the Small Business Administration, as much as 70% of those businesses fail. And then another 25% fail in the next 2 years. We're kind of stuck, aren't we? See, I believe Nu Skin's the way out. I've seen it time and time again, where average people can make above average income. See, I think there's two types of working people. There's people who work from 9 to 5, they have a fair amount of free time, not a whole lot of money. And then there's people who work from 7, 8, 9 o'clock in the morning till 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night. They have a fair amount of money, but not a whole lot of free time. And in the greatest country in the world, most of us are slaves. We're either slaves to our jobs or we're slaves to our businesses. And tonight, you're going to see a lot of pieces of the puzzle. And if you stop right there, that's all you're going to see. But if you'll take the time to put those pieces together, you're going to see an opportunity unparalleled in the United States. You know, last month with Nu Skin, Maureen and I did about $700,000 with the business. But that's not the exciting part. You see, we did it without any accounts receivable. We did it without any inventory to speak of. We did it without any bookwork. We only have one part-time employee. We have almost no headaches to this business. And see, that's what kills most businesses, is all the inventory and all the payroll, all the accounts receivable that Nu Skin doesn't have. So Nu Skin's got all the upside potential of a huge business without any of the downside risk. And we pay our distributors in 4 ways. So watch this carefully, because this could make you wealthy. The first way we make money is through retail. This is not a door-to-door situation. See, what I love about these products is these are vanity products. And people only buy for 2 reasons. They buy out of fear, and they buy out of vanity. If they buy out of fear, you have to educate them. If they buy out of vanity, they already know they want them. And all you need to do is talk about the products, and people will buy them. Do you ever go to a restaurant where the food was good, and the service was good, and the price was right? What'd you do with that information? Tell people, right? Did you ever get a rebate from the restaurant? Yeah, that's a joke, right? Well, here's what's going to happen. You're going to try these products tonight, and you're going to love them tomorrow. Is that true or not? Okay? And you're going to be honor-bound, because that's just the way people are. When people love something, they tell people about it. But instead of receiving nothing, the company's going to give you a 43% markup. You know when I realized how easy these products were? We were coming home from Fort Lauderdale and Milwaukee. I had been in Nu Skin about 8 hours. And we're reading over the brochures on Nutriol, the hair product, and the guy next to me says, "What's that?" I says, "Well, we're thinking about marketing this new product. I don't know anything about it." And I handed him the brochure. 20 minutes later, he writes me a check for $119. As God is my witness, that man bought $119 worth of product on the plane. I didn't have any products with me. And I turned to my wife and I said, "You know what? I think we got something here." I believe down in my very being that this is the next AT&T, that this is the next IBM. And if those of you will just take enough time to look and see what you've got, and the products are so easy to sell if you'll just talk about them. The second way is through management. And as a manager with Nu Skin, we utilize a business principle that really every successful business in the world uses. And the example I always give is McDonald's. Let's say you opened up a McDonald's franchise that was making money hand over fist. As smart business people, what would you do with that money? Open up another one, right? And then another one. Do you think the guy that owns 25 McDonald's franchises is working hard today? You want to know why? Because he's learned a very important word in business today. And that word is leveraging. You see, he's leveraged himself into 25 different outlets, and even though he can only be in one place at one time, he earns at 25 different locations. Good idea, right? What's the problem with a franchise today? Very expensive. McDonald's wants up to $1 million to own one of their franchises. I have a customer who's district manager at Taco Bell in Milwaukee. You know how much it costs to own a Taco Bell? $550,000 cash. Well, wouldn't it be nice if we could get a franchise income and a franchise track record without the franchise fee? Would anybody enjoy that? You see, there's only 3 ways to make money. There's a linear income, which means you exchange time for money. If you don't work, you don't get paid. That's why professionals are coming on board. You see, the surgeon who makes $300,000 a year, on Friday when he goes home, he stops earning. When he goes home for lunch, he stops earning. If he takes a vacation, he stops earning. The second way is the residual income, like the insurance industries get. But most of the time, if you switch insurance companies, you lose your residuals. And then there's an override royalty income that allows you to leverage yourself in other outlets and other individuals, and allows you to earn whether you're working or whether you're not. Anybody here basically lazy? Now here's what we do. We're going to teach you how to find a minimum of, oh, I got you on that one, huh? We're going to help you find a minimum of 5 key people. And for that, Nu Skin will pay you up to 10% of everything those people do. And then when you and those 5 people or more do a minimum of $3,000 worth of business in a calendar month, they promote you to the executive level and add up to an additional 14%. So here's what it's looked like. Let's say this is you, and these are your 5 people. And obviously they have some people, and they have some people. And for lack of a better word, we call this a pilot franchise. It's not a franchise, it's a distributorship. But what Nu Skin does is they pay you up to 24% on everybody you personally introduce, the 10 and the 14, and up to 14 on everybody below them. And the reason Nu Skin can do that is because in traditional marketing, the products go from the manufacturer to the wholesaler to the jobber to the retailer to the consumer, and 80% of the profit's eaten right there. But with Nu Skin, the products go directly from Nu Skin to us. We give them directly to the consumer, and the profits go back to you in the form of bonuses. Now the fun part starts here, in the executive override. Now what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to imagine for the moment that we're sitting here 20 or 30 years ago with Ray Kroc. Does everybody know who Ray Kroc was? Okay, he started McDonald's. And here's how McDonald's works. Today you give McDonald's as much as $1 million. At the end of each month, they add up all of your sales, and they allow you to pay McDonald's another 3%, called a franchise fee. Isn't that nice of them? What if McDonald's said, instead of us opening up the franchise, finding the franchisee, and training the franchisee, we want you to do it. You find a franchisee, you train them, and then McDonald's will pay you, instead of 3%, they're going to pay you 5% of everything that McDonald's does for the rest of your life. Would that put a smile on anybody's face? What if this guy said, geez, if I open up somebody else, if I help somebody become a franchisee, I train them, and now McDonald's will pay 5% to me, what if McDonald's paid you 5% on that person also? Would that be twice as much fun? Now you can't grin quite enough, right? And what if they did that on the 3rd level also, and on the 4th level, and on the 5th level, and on the 6th level? Now, for most of you, that won't mean much. But when you begin to understand the dynamics of this, the income potential is staggering. Now, obviously, McDonald's doesn't do that, but Nu Skin does. And you know, the first time I saw this, I thought this was a pyramid. So I called the Federal Trade Commission, and I found out what a pyramid was. Pyramids sell paper. They don't sell legitimate products. In a pyramid, you buy a position. You don't work for a position. And what the FTC explained to me was that this is a legal network marketing company. It's registered in every one of the 50 states. And according to Money Magazine, network marketing is going to be responsible for as much as 50% of all goods and services sold by the 1990s. The Wall Street Journal said 60%. And sure enough, today Harvard Business School is teaching network marketing. And Stanford Business School is teaching network marketing. And Simon & Schuster just published a 200-page book on the subject. And people today that don't understand that network marketing is the way the products are going to move to the end consumer are a lot like the blacksmith who saw the first car coming down the street and said, oh, that's just a fad, that'll never last. You see, we've got 3 huge product trends going for us and a marketing trend, network marketing, whose time has come. And the reason I believe network marketing, or one of them, is so powerful today is because of a $20 invention. How many of you have remote controls on your television? How many of you watch commercials anymore? Nobody watches commercials. You get a commercial, you either mute it or change channels, right? Well, today, how is Madison Avenue going to get into the American living room? Advertisers are staying up late at night trying to figure out how to get into the American living room, and it can't be done through television. You see, word-of-mouth marketing is the way that products are going to move to the end consumer. That's why network marketing is so powerful. Now, while I got involved, there were 4 things I needed to know. And for those of you who don't know, I left a $100,000 a year position to do this, so I did not get into Nu Skin lightly. The first thing I needed to know about was the company. That's why I called the FTC, that's why I called the FDA, to make sure the company was legal. I called the Better Business Bureau and the Chamber of Commerce to make sure they weren't in any trouble. I did a Dun & Bradstreet report on the company. We called their bank, we did their financials. When we got in, this was about 2 years ago, their company was 3.5 years old. They had $5 million in the bank and a $15 million line of credit. For a 3.5-year-old company, that's almost unheard of. The second thing I need to know about was the products. You see, as far as I was concerned, products had to have 4 things. They had to, number one, be unique so that they were not easy to copy. They had to be visual products so people could see the results, and those results had to be emotional so people got excited about those results and told their friends. And then they had to be consumable products so people used them month after month after month. This is the most unique, visual, emotional, consumable product line in the marketplace today. The third thing I needed to know about was the marketing plan. You've probably seen marketing plans like this before. They're just marks on a board. That's all they are. Until you begin to figure out what's happening. You see, I'm working with 6 people nationally with Nu Skin. 5 of them are making $1 million a year. They're not selling $1 million. They're clearing $1 million. And when you leave tonight, it's not important to me whether you get in or not. That's up to you. We know it's not for everybody. But what is important is when you leave tonight, you know 2 things. And number one, you need to know that this is real. This is not a get-rich-quick scheme. This is not a mirage. This is a real business. And the second thing you need to know about is that this is big business. This is not a little Avon, Mary Kay, ding-dong deal. And there's nothing wrong with those companies. But what you need to understand is that network marketing is not a few people selling a lot of products. It's a lot of people selling a little bit of product. You see, I had a guy come up to me once when I was doing a meeting in Milwaukee, and he said, I can't see myself selling cosmetics. And I looked him right in the eye and said, you weren't listening. Because what we're doing in the entrepreneurial market, and I'll talk a little bit more about that later, is we're franchising the Nu Skin idea. You know, I've got a good friend who works in Fort Lauderdale, and he told me one month he made $50,000 with Nu Skin. I said, that's incredible. Nobody makes $50,000 a month unless they're a professional ball player. Now let me explain to you how it's possible. If he had 1,000 distributors in his organization, and each one of those bought enough products that he gets a $50 override on each person, how much did he earn that month? $50,000. And the best example I can give you in network marketing is the Hershey bar. You ever go to a grocery store or a restaurant and see the Hershey display up front? Do you ever see people buying cases of Hershey bars? They don't do it, do they? How does Hershey's do their millions? 1 bar at a time. And that's what network marketing is. It's a lot of people selling a little bit of product. And what we're doing here is exactly the same thing. You need to understand it's a franchise situation. And the marketing plan, although everyone's not going to make the big money, is there for you if you want to. 80% of the people who get involved in Nu Skin will make a good part-time living, $500, $1,000, $1,500 a month. Do you know what happened to the average family if an extra $1,500 a month came into it? Especially here in Hawaii, right? You need it. I've seen your prices. So you decide. Do you want to go for a little money or do you want to go for a lot? It's totally and completely up to you. But the marketing plan works. And the last thing I needed to know about was the timing, because timing is what? Absolutely everything. Well, we're working with this financial analyst, and he explained to me that every company goes through 4 stages of development. And the first stage is the formulation stage. This is where the company has no product recognition, they have no media attention, and they probably won't make it to stage 2. During concentration, the company begins to get product recognition and media attention, but because the products are so new in the economy, there's a lot of rejection, there's a lot of attrition, and only the pioneers will make it through the concentration stage. However, when the company hits approximately $50 million in sales in a calendar year, they go into the momentum stage, or what financial people call critical mass. And critical mass is when the masses reposition their thinking from an area of indifference, I got to have that no matter what. And a good example of that would be Reebok shoes. Remember when Reeboks were first introduced? They're $50 for a gym shoe. And people saying, this is a joke. Nobody's going to spend $50 on Reeboks when you get kids for 20 bucks. We want to know what happened? It took Reebok 4 or 5 years, but that year they did their 50 million. And now there are enough people wearing Reeboks that everybody else had Reeboks, right or wrong? 50 million that year, 360 million the following year. You see, every company that hits 50 million in sales goes 3 to 6 times the following year, because enough people doing it, everybody else has to do it. Why do you suppose we're excited? Nu Skin did 50 million last year, which means we're going to do between 150 and 300 million this year. And everybody that gets involved with Nu Skin and works it will be able to take advantage of that timing. We had an outside auditing firm come into Nu Skin, and this was last fall, and they estimated that Nu Skin would be doing 10 million a month by January 1990 and 50 million a month by the end of the year. Well, we did 10 million in January, which means we're going to do 50 million a month by the end of the year. And as Nu Skin jumps from 10 million to 12 million to 15 million to 20 million to 30 million to 40 million to 50 million, what do you suppose is going to happen to your checks? You see, I've seen this happen. All of my career, I've been on the bottom of the hill looking up. And people say to me, come on up, it's great up here. Well, here's our chance for the first time in my life, and maybe for the first time in years, to be on the top of the hill saying, hey, come on up, it's great up here. I got a friend in Milwaukee who owns a health food store. And right next to his health food store was the Cambridge Barber Shop. Remember when the Cambridge diet was really hot? Well, people were driving by the barber shop, connecting with the health food store and coming into the health food store asking for the Cambridge diet. Trouble was he didn't sell it. But so many people came in the health food store that he was forced to become a Cambridge distributor. I can't tell you how many hundreds of thousands of dollars that man made. But see, it wasn't him. It was critical mass, right place, right time. You see, everybody in this room knows people who are really good at what they do, but they were in the wrong place at the wrong time and the success was mediocre. And you also know people who were not very good at what they do, but they were in the right place at the right time and the success was phenomenal. You see, critical mass is a lot like surfing. If you're sitting still when the wave comes, it'll pass you right by. But if you've got some momentum, if you've got some movement, when that wave comes, it'll carry you to success. And the reason people are successful with Nu Skin is they're letting the products and the timing do 80% of the work. And if you'll just follow the steps that we're going to train you on Sunday, you'll be enormously successful. The fourth step is the stability stage. This is where the company's already done a good job. They're usually 10 or 15 years old, and now the pie is cut so thin that the room for growth is greatly hampered. Today, the insurance industry is instability. The medical profession is instability. The real estate and the beauty professions are instability. And there's a lot of direct-to-consumer companies that are instability. People say to me, well, Bill, this is a lot like Amway, or this is a lot like Mary Kay. And you know what? They're right, except for two things. Number one, obviously, is the products. And number two is the timing. Do you know that Amway created more multimillionaires than any single corporation in the world? How many of you knew that? It wasn't IBM or McDonnell Douglas. It was Amway. Mary Kay created more women making $50,000 a year than any single corporation in the world. I got a chance to meet a guy who got in Amway in its 7th year, or maybe it was 6th year in Atlanta. Today he's making $700,000 a month, hasn't worked in 20 years. But you see, they got in here, not here. 90% of the millionaires that made it in Amway made it between the company's 5th and 10th year. And that's exactly where we are now. We are exactly where Amway was in 1965. We'll be exactly where Amway is in 25 years. And we will leave a wake of millionaires in our path. And the products and the timing can create that for you. And what excites me more about this area than anything else is Nu Skin becomes a household word here on the islands and the rest of the mainland. We become international. We open up Canada this month. We open up Taiwan and Australia and Japan next year. Who do you suppose has the advantage over the rest of the states, over Taiwan, Australia, and Japan? You guys are sitting here just looking at it. And here's something you need to know. Amway created millionaires, many of them doing it internationally. But Amway doesn't pay 5% on 6 levels. Amway pays 3% on the first level and 0.75% on the second level. Craig Bryson was talking about a guy who's got the biggest Amway organization in Australia, but it's below his pay level. He doesn't receive anything on it. Nu Skin is the first network marketing in history to go into the momentum phase or critical mass, paying 5% on 6 levels. And you will see as this thing begins to unfold, people from Canada, eventually Japan and Australia and Taiwan and eventually Europe, on your readout you don't even know, but because you get paid on 6 levels, the potential here is just almost beyond comprehension. You see, everything is put together for you. The company, the products, the marketing plan, and the timing. The rest is up to you. The last thing I wanted to know was, well, where do we go? Who do we talk to? I believe there's 3 markets. And the first market you talk to is the entrepreneurial market. I don't spell very well, so I abbreviate a lot. These are the very people that you're afraid to talk to. Why? Because they're already making $50,000 or $100,000 a year. They're already working 60, 70, 80 hours a week. You want to know something? These are the first people who see this. The very person that's too busy and making too much money is the one that's worried about the 50-year-old statistic. You know which statistic I'm talking about? That's the executive dropping dead at his desk. And he's up to here in alligators looking for a way out. And if he can understand developing a network, franchising the Nu Skin idea, and if he understands that anybody who puts their heart and soul into this business 18 months to 2 years from now won't have to work. Can you imagine that? 18 months to 2 years from now being set for life? See, that's what the entrepreneur sees. Just a few months ago, I was in Florida, and I called the real estate office, and I asked for the most successful realtor in the office. I didn't ask for the guy that was hungry. I wanted the number one guy. This guy sells $10 million worth of real estate every year, makes $200,000 every single year. But you see, every time he sells a house, he's unemployed. And in order for these entrepreneurs to keep their lifestyle, they're going to have to work into their 60s, and if they make it into their 70s. What he sees in Nu Skin is the perpetual income. And what we do is we teach entrepreneurs to find 5 more entrepreneurs. And you know what those 5 do? Exactly the same thing. What you have to understand here is what exponential growth is. Exponential growth is, would you rather have $1 million right now, or would you rather have a penny doubled every day for a month? See, the smart ones are going to take the penny. Because at the end of the month, it's 10 million, not 1 million. And the reason I know exponential growth works so well is because Maureen and I only have 12 first-line executives. We've introduced 12 people to this program who become executives. But underneath those 12 is something around 6,500 distributors coast to coast, Hawaii and Alaska. Most of them I don't know. I love every single one of them. But that's what you need to know, is that 12 can turn into thousands, and the entrepreneur sees that. The second market is the part-timer market. We talked a little bit about that earlier. We can show anybody how to make an extra $500,000, $1,500 a month by sponsoring a few people and retailing a little bit of product. And once you let the product do the work for you, the rest of it happens on its own. And then the third market is the salon market, tanning salons and the toning salons and the health clubs and the aerobic studios. Anywhere that people go to look and feel good, you can set them up as a distributor. And whether they're a salon or whether they're an individual, the beauty of this program is once they're a distributor, they pick up the phone, they call an 800 number to Nu Skin. They get products from Nu Skin, not from you. You have no inventory requirements for your distributors. And then Nu Skin puts their Social Security number together with your Social Security number, adds up all the orders that came in that month, computes what they owe you, sends you this complete readout, and a check at the bottom. It is big business without big hassle. We figured out if you have 10 salons and each of those salons had 10 customers a week, you're making $30,000 a year in overrides. I'd like to end today with this book called The Age Wave. How many have seen this book? It's been on the bestseller list maybe for the last 8 or 9 months. It's a book about the baby boomers. Do we have any baby boomers here? What he says is that in the age wave, the businesses today that are responding to the baby boomers are capitalizing. And businesses today that are ignoring the baby boomers are perishing. And every company that has positioned itself before the age wave has capitalized in a very big way. Listen to this. He says fully 1/3 of all Americans, 76 million people, were born between 1946 and 1964. He says this generational mass has dominated American culture for 4 decades. At each stage of their lives, the needs and desires of the baby boomers have become the dominant concerns of American business and popular culture. He says when the boomers arrived, the diaper industry prospered. When they took their first step, the shoe and photo industry skyrocketed. The baby food industry went from 270 million jars a day to 1.5 billion jars a day. I'm sorry, 270 million jars in 1940 to 1.5 billion jars in 1953. And then they got a little older. They got into the hula hoops and the skateboards and the slinkies and the frisbees. Remember those? Imagine being in the right place at the right time with the tubes, just put it on your waist. It was all timing. And they got older again. And the boomers gobbled up vast quantities of food, making millionaires of the founders of McDonald's, Jack in the Box, and Kentucky Fried Chicken. Now here's why you need to be interested in Nu Skin. He says the oldest of the boomers are now in their 5th decade. What will America look and feel like as the boomers migrate through their 40s, 50s, and 60s? What will the midlife crisis be like when it's multiplied by 76 million? Thank you. And I quote, what will happen when this generation decides that it doesn't like baldness and wrinkles, when it decides not to grow old? He says the boomers would prefer to grow old youthfully. If they have their way, they'll become the first generation in history to take 100 years to become 50. That's true, isn't it? And a new skin goes from $1 million company to a multi-billion-dollar company. You can capitalize that. You know what the difference between $1 million and $1 billion is? A million seconds is 12 days. A billion seconds is 32 years. And new skin's going to go from a million-dollar company to a multi-billion-dollar company. Now let's look what we've got. New Skin International has positioned itself in front of 76 million Americans with the most effective, the most unique, and the least expensive products to answer their concerns about getting older. We can't fail. New Skin's going to be a household word. The question now is, who partakes? You see, it's already growing. It's already moving all across the country. And you know, there's really only two types of people watching this tonight. Those who think they can do this, and those who think they can't. And you know what? You're both right. What would have really killed me is what if they told me the truth and I didn't listen? What if I'd said no? You see, I could have gotten all the excuses that you have. I don't have the time, I don't have the money, I don't know anybody, I've never done anything like this before. And those are all legitimate excuses. But what if we're telling you the truth? Don't you owe it to yourself to find out? What you need to do is to take all these pieces and try to put them together. You talk to the person that invited you. I promise you, New Skin is everything we did. You'll find that out for yourself. I'll turn it back to Beverly. Thanks very much. Talk to the